All right, everyone, welcome to the Toon on the podcast, which is our last ever review of the 21-2022 season. And we're going to review the Burnley game, which for us happened in the early hours of this morning. I believe it was a 4 p.m. kickoff back home in the UK. And with me, I've got Dimi. How are you doing, Dimi?
Much better today, Craig. Had a tough weekend with my sporting teams, as you guys probably know in the chat. So this morning was a good little final pick me up at the end of the season, and fantastic way to finish. What a unbelievable second half of the year.
It wasn't too shabby, was it? It wasn't too shabby at all. It was certainly better than what any of us could expect, that was for sure. But we'll cover more of that as this game goes on. But we're going to kick off straight away just by a little bit of announcement. We're still on a chase for more subscribers for our YouTube channel. So if you do like us, you haven't subscribed yet, you like what we do, maybe you follow us on Twitter or any other form of social media, please drop us a sub. It'd be more than appreciated if you could do so. Thanks very much. Now we're going to crack straight on with the review. We're going to jump straight in with the lineups. I'm just going to crack these on right here. So we're going to start with Burnley, being the home team. So I'll read these out right here for you. So we've got Pope in goal, who's very, very consistent, actually very, very good goalkeeper, Nick Pope. And we'll go across the back, Roberts, Long, Collins, and Tarkowski, who, depending on whose media reports you're reading, he's already got one foot inside the door of St. James's Park. But we'll see more on that over the coming days and weeks, no doubt. Taylor, Brownhill, Cork, McNeil, Cornet, and Bonds make up their starting 11. What did you think that starting 11, Dimi, and where did you see their potential strengths and weaknesses?
Well, the one guy who stands out every time we play Burnley, he seems to cause us, or historically was causing us problems, was Ashley Barnes. He just seems to throw his elbows around and get amongst it. And I thought especially with, we'll get to our lineup in a minute, especially with my mate starting at centre half with no share at the back, I was a bit concerned that would have launched those long balls towards Ashley Barnes and he might get a flick on for Cornet. So yeah, definitely I think Barnes was for me a worry. He's a bit of an enigma. He's on his day, can score a cracking goal and can elbow a centre half. So definitely was worried about him.
Yeah, he's definitely one of their top performers. So we'll move on to our starting 11 now. This was pretty much to be expected, bar maybe the odd one or two. Again, I'll run through these. So Dubravka starting goal, again as per normal. Trippier was recalled to the squad ahead of Kraft. Were you surprised at that one, Dimi?
Not really, to be honest. Look, Kraft's been doing a fantastic job, and I think he's well and truly exceeded all of our expectations. But I mean, Trippier was borderline captain material when he first came in, and he changed the team, he changed the dynamic. Arguably, he started the whole change of confidence, change of belief in the squad when he came in January. So I think now that he was fit and he had a couple of minutes under his belt, I think it was a good time to give him a start, especially at his old club.
Yeah, it was a bit of a swan song for him. It's where he originally signed and made his Premier League debut, I believe, at Burnley. But alongside Trippier, we had Lascelles, who retains the captain's armband. I know you're a fan favourite of his, Dimi. Then we've got Dan Burn and Matt Targett making up the rest of the back four. In the middle, we've got Bruno, Longstaff, and Big Joe, followed by your front three, if you can call it that, of Amaron, ASM, and Callum Wilson. That starting 11 was pretty much probably of Lascelles, maybe the strongest 11 we can put out, would you say?
Yeah, definitely. I think, like you said, bar share coming in for Lascelles, probably potentially as well. If Willock was fit, he maybe would have come into that squad or Shelby, but it's probably the best we could have hoped for at this stage of the season, and it's just unfortunate that only now we've got Trippier and Wilson in the same team when the season's over.
Yeah, it was a good start 11. I was quite surprised, to be honest, to see Trippier start. I thought he'd be benched and just maybe make a cameo appearance. I'd hate for him to re-injure that foot. He did go down clutching his foot at one point, and I think everyone just gasps and just, oh no, not again. But luckily he was all right on that one. So that goes through the starting 11 of both teams. It was, to be honest, a very scrappy opening few minutes as both teams were trying to get the feelers on each other. It was to be expected. Burnley were very, very nervous. You could sense the crowd were nervous. They were very quiet. They did get a little bit more vocal as it went on. But yeah, very first few minutes were very scrappy. Not many chances, not many passages of play, not many passes getting strung together. But then in the 5th minute, which was very, very strange, Big Joe picks up a very innocuous injury. Not quite sure how it happened. I know he went to jump for the ball for a header. I don't know whether he's had his leg raked by someone stood or anything, but apparently he had a deep laceration to his ankle, so deep you could probably see the bone, according to Eddie Howe. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't look good. I mean, it's easy for us to say, but thank goodness it's only a deep laceration almost cutting into his bone. It did look like he was holding his ankle and his foot. It looked like maybe, I'm not sure if it was a broken leg or an Achilles or something really sinister. And when the paramedics came out and they brought the stretcher out and they had the oxygen, you thought the worst. And you're thinking, geez, how's Joe's luck? He's had a play of the season performance. He's been sensational. If it was the worst case scenario season, a long-term injury, he'd potentially miss most of next season as well. So hopefully it's only a deep laceration, as Eddie said, and a bit of patchwork and rest over the next few weeks. He'll be good to go by pre-season.
Yeah, you think of any type of injury like that, you want it on the last game of the season, get it over and done with. And it means he can rest up his body from any maybe niggling injuries he's been carrying, as I imagine most players would be at this stage of the season too. But now moving into the game again, very similar to the first opening few minutes. Not many passage of play going through, very scrappy. Burnley trying to get a few long balls over the top, not doing much in terms of creative play, just trying to catch us on the counter, which wasn't really working, to be honest. And I noticed in the first few minutes or so, a lot of our players were slipping on the pitch. And apparently, according to Twitter, I don't know how true this is, but Burnley heavily watered the pitch before the game to slow the pace of the ball down for our play. Now, if anybody was at the game, if anybody can corroborate that, that'd be great if you could let one know in the comments. But kind of cheeky little tactics, if true. Like I say, I don't know if they are. But you'd imagine a heavy wet surface which would slow the ball down, which is probably going to benefit them if they're going to throw the ball across the top. But getting on to the 16th minute, there was a little bit of scrappy bit of play in the Burnley box where I believe it was Collins. He just tried to be a little bit clever, trying to get rid of it. And Murphy just seems to nick it off him. He squares the ball to Bruno on the edge. Bruno takes a shot from the edge of the box. Pope saves, and then it's put out for a corner. Do you think Bruno should have done better, or do you think it was a quality save from Pope?
I wouldn't call it a quality save. I think our expectations of Bruno now, every time he's around the goals that he's going to score, like he's never been a goal scorer or someone who's going to lash it in from the edge of the box. I mean, fair play, hit the target. That's all we can really ask for. I mean, it's probably a little bit harsh to ask that he's going to be finding the back of the net from every strike he takes, but that's the sort of form he's been in, Bruno. So comfortable enough save for me for Pope, and then obviously the resulting corner is where it all happened.
Yeah, it was that resulting corner, which was taken by Trippier down our left-hand side. It was a bit of a deep corner, to be honest, because Nick Pope got a hand to it. But if anything, that just helped the situation what followed straight after that. Because Collins, and I've no idea why he's done this, he's literally reached his hand out and he's took it off Longstaff's head. Now, Longstaff is not known for his heading ability, so whether he's going to head on the back of the net or head it back across, we don't know. But it was literally going for his forehead on that. And there's two things I want to ask you on this, Dimi, is A, how did the ref miss that? Because it was so blatant. And B, could it have potentially have been a red card scenario because he denied a goal scoring opportunity?
How we missed it sums up the incompetence of the officials in the Premier League. We'll probably leave it at that. It was as clear as day. He's almost punched the ball. He's virtually punched the ball off Longstaff's head. So I'm not sure how he or the linesman who was on that side missed it. So poor refereeing. And then in terms of a red card, it's a tough one. I mean, it looked like from the replays that we saw that Longstaff was heading at a cross goal, that he wasn't heading it at goal. If Longstaff was potentially trying to head it at goal, maybe you could say it was a goal scoring opportunity. I think a red card may have been harsh. I definitely can see where you're coming from because it's a deliberate handball stopping a goal scoring opportunity. Whether Longstaff can score from that tight angle is obviously anyone's guess. And I think a penalty probably was enough. I think there was enough doubt around being a true goal scoring opportunity to say, yeah, no red card and we'll just take the pen.
Fair enough. And from that result in handball, it went to VAR. And I think as soon as it was Craig Dimi was a ref, he went to the monitor. And again, like every other time, every other game where the referees went to the monitor for VAR, the decision always goes for them. I've never once seen the ref look at it and go with his original decision. It always gets changed. But this was so blatant, it was unreal. There was no way it was ever going to be denied. Up steps Wilson on the 20th minute. Cool, calm, and personified as always. Puts it to his right, low down on the right, and Pope dives the other way. What did you make of the penalty? And also, what did you make of Wilson's celebration? Because it was quite muted, to be honest. I expected him to go a bit mad considering it's his first goal since, I think it was December. Do you think he didn't celebrate wildly out of respect? Or he just the fact it was just a penalty and he didn't really care that much as such?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's an interesting one. Yeah, it was a pretty of a muted celebration. I'm not sure if he's got any historical ties to Burnley or family connections or anything like that. I'm not sure why he wouldn't celebrate in his usual manner. I mean, Wilson from the penalty spot has been, I think, virtually 100% for us. He's been unstoppable. So I was pretty confident he was going to put it away. He clearly was confident. Maybe he was that confident that he just expected to score and let's move on. Let's get another one. It was one of those moments in games because the VAR stops the play and you go look at it, sort of a lull in proceeding. So maybe he couldn't get himself up. Just on that point though, Craig, while you're at the VAR, not to bring this to Australian football, but my team on the weekend had that same situation where the referee's been called over. He's had a look at it and he said, still no penalty. So it may not happen in the Premier League, but it did happen this week in Melbourne. But yeah, you're right. As soon as Pawson went to look, I don't think he even looked more than once or twice. He had a quick look and said, yeah, clear penalty. Let's move on.
Yeah, and again, good dispatch from Wilson, put us 1-0 up, and you could hear the moans and groans from the Burnley crowd because they knew exactly what it meant to them. And just touching on this game could have meant so much more for both teams. It could have been far significant for both Newcastle and Burnley. Thankfully, it wasn't. And I think, if anything, that just took some of the occasion out of it and helped us with a bit of professionalism in that first half. Because the last thing you'd want is two teams down to the bottom scrapping for a place in the Premier League next season. It would have been an absolute shit show in terms of football quality, I think. But both teams would have been super nervous. So thankfully, we weren't in that situation. And we seen what that done to Burnley when they did go one down. See, the crowd were very anxious, very nervous already, and that just knocked them back a bit. So moving on about the half an hour mark, again, not much happening in terms of possession. We were knocking it around quite well, but not doing much with it. We had the odd few shots at Pope, but they were well saved, or they were wide of target. Burnley did manage to get one shot away just before the 40-minute mark. Again, this comes into question with ASM's defending. So he's got the ball on the left-hand side, probably halfway in our own half, pretty much on the touchline. He either slips or loses possession, can't quite remember, but he just bugger all the track back and try and get it back. The ball is then played pretty much centre, and the shot itself from 25 yards out doesn't trouble Dubravka, goes very high, lots of power behind it, nothing on there. But those types of things will make a big difference against better quality sides, unlike Burnley. We'll talk about ASM's defensive capabilities in the second half, but what did you make of that in the way he just didn't track back? He just almost as if he didn't care.
Yeah, well, I think ASM's unfortunately getting a bad reputation for not tracking back, and you're right. With the way Howe's teams work, it's a very structured, everybody working up and back, discipline, pressing. And unfortunately for ASM, he loses the ball and he just sometimes just spits a dummy and says, "Oh, I've lost the ball. It should have been a foul. I'm not going to track back." And you can't afford that. You're right. Burnley don't have a lot of quality going forward, so probably affect us morning. You're right, against a quality team. I mean, I think it happened against Spurs a couple of times where he lost the ball when Spurs punished us. So it's definitely going to happen in the future. If he's going to come into our own half and carry the ball, he's got to be very, very sure that he's takes care of the ball and he maintains it, because I think he's a little bit erratic when he's dribbling in our own half. I think there's a time and a place for his flicks and tricks and skills, and it's definitely not in our own half.
Yeah, and like I say, we could have been punished against better quality opposition with that one. Thankfully, it was Burnley. Thankfully, it was high and wide, and it didn't come to anything, that one. But on the 47th minute, now we're going to 47 because there was 5 minutes of added on time with Big Joe's injury at the early stages of the game. So Target releases ASM down the left-hand side. He outpaces the defender, leaves him for dust effectively. Now, this is very unlike ASM. With his right foot, he side foots it to go into the right-hand corner. Normally, he just puts his laces behind it and hopes for the best on that one. Do you think, again, this was a good save by Pope, or do you think it was a bad miss by ASM?
Yeah, I think that one's more on ASM. I think he got himself into a decent position, but his last touch, he just didn't open his body up enough. So he was a little bit cramped and he couldn't get that bend that he wanted to curl it around the goalkeeper in that far corner. I think he had the pace, he had the beating of whoever the defender was, Brownhill or whoever it was. He just needed to open himself up, and if he wanted to go in the far corner, make sure his body was open up. And again, that's another thing for ASM. He's not clinical. Unfortunately for us, he can score a wonder goal, but in that moment, one-on-one with the goalkeeper, quality footballers have got to put that away. And I think it wasn't a game that anything was really riding on it for us, so it didn't really matter that he missed that chance. But you'd like to see him take those chances going forward, because it's going to be very important if we want to progress as a club, that we're going to be looking at these small moments in games, whether it's a draw we get or we lose, that we don't take these chances.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. And it's those missed chances which get you points, and points move you up the table. It's as simple as that. Just before we start on the second half, because I pretty much brought the first half to a climax, just want to touch on this question from Dex. I'll let you answer this one, Dimi. So I'll read it out. Do you think ASM will get a chance as a number 10 next season? Him and Wilson look very dangerous when they link up around the 18-yard area.
Short answer, no. Sorry, Dex. I don't think he will. I just don't think ASM values the ball as much as a number 10 needs to. I don't think he is as comfortable on the ball when he's backs to goal, and that sometimes a number 10 receives it back to goal and turns and beats a player. I mean, for me, ASM is at best when he's out wide, a bit of room, 1-2, step over, cut in and shoot, or cut in and cross. I don't think in a tighter space where, again, valuing the ball is key, and back to goal is probably also important to be able to link up. I don't think ASM has the discipline or the football nous to play a number 10 role.
See, I beg to differ on that one. I would love to say ASM in a number 10 role. He's played there before, albeit not consistently, but when he has, he's been decent. When I think it was last season, when ASM again Burnley at Turf Moor, he came on, made a cameo role. He played the number 10 role through the middle, and he changed the game. He got the assist for Murphy, and he got the match winner for us too. Again, the lesser opposition, Burnley on that one, so it's hard to see how it would work against the better teams. But he prefers that position, the number 10. And one of the reasons why I think I'd like to give that a try is he doesn't then have to cut in every single time he wants to cross or pass the ball, which makes him very predictable. Me and Lee had a bit of a discussion this on Friday night, whenever it was, about he's so predictable. He's unpredictable when he does cut in. But that's another story for another conversation on that one. But second half starts. Very similar start to the first half. Very scrappy, lots of misplaced passes. Lots of misplaced passes from Bruno, to be honest. I think he still had the highest passage percentage of any of the Newcastle players, but it was very down from his average that we've seen of late. But yeah, it wasn't a great start of the half. Lots of again, to and fro, and Burnley lots of long balls over the top trying to catch us out. And we're not doing much with it as well. Now, I think it was on the 55th minute. The ball gets to Miggy. He's down the left. And all he's got to do is square it to Wilson. And it's 2-0. He goes for power. He tries to go for glory himself. And he absolutely balls it up big time. And Wilson let him know exactly what he thought of that too. He walks over him. You can see the look in Wilson's eyes. There was no camera on facing Wilson, so God knows what was coming out of his mouth. But I can't imagine him say, "Unlucky lad, better look next time." You know, that sums up Miggy in a nutshell. And I've actually, if you check in the comments for everybody that's watching right now, at the very top, I put a poll up there. Would you keep Miggy for next season? If you want to just have a quick vote on that, and we'll get the final results of that towards the end of this show. But what did you think of that passage of play? And I'd imagine you were screaming at the TV and screaming at Miggy with that little bit of play as well.
Yeah, you're spot on, Craig. I mean, you could see it from a mile away. Wilson's made a brilliant run. He's peeled off to the back post. He's wide open. It's literally just a cutback. It's a FIFA goal, really. It's a cutback and it's a tap in for. It's similar to the goal that we're going to talk about in a moment. It's a cutback and it's a simple goal. I'm not sure what Miggy's thinking. I think maybe he got a goal of the month and he's thinking, "Geez, I got one goal of the month. Let's try and get two." But
Yeah.
but that's the thing with Miggy. Like you said, he's that final decision making can let him down. He works his socks off. He tries hard. He might do 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 6 moves he does might be good, but he just lacks that concentration and that final bit of quality consistently that you need to be, in my opinion, to be in our team going forward as we progress.
Totally agree. He blew his chance today. He had a great opportunity to get another assist to effectively build one for the team, but he went for glory himself. And to me, it was a bit selfish. It was actually easier for Wilson to score than it was for Miggy too. And he can't claim he didn't see him or anything, because it was literally he was out in the open. It was just needed to tap in. And then that brings us on to the hour mark, which is effectively a carbon copy of the same move. From the middle of the play, it's a short ball from Longstaff to Almiron, quite ironically. And then Almiron gives it to ASM. He does a few little step overs, does a little bit of a dance. But for once, he gets his head up, sees Wilson in the middle, puts the perfect pass in, and Wilson will finish those with his eyes closed. Puts it again pretty much in the same spot he put the penalty, to be honest, to the keeper's right, effectively. But again, good build-up play, carved Burnley open, and Wilson wheels away with a brace on that one. And he goes towards ASM and say, "Thank you. That's what I need. Give me those types of balls and I will score." It's almost 2 fingers up to Miggy at that point, personally, I reckon. What was your thoughts?
I think you're absolutely right, because he absolutely, like you said, lambasted Miggy and probably went on for a good 5 to 10 seconds just giving it to me. Eventually, when Miggy got up, said, "All right, Miggy, let's go again." But I think he thought, "Geez, look how easy this was." It was literally a cutback. He pulls his run, he taps it in. That's what Wilson's there for. He's a sensational poacher, finisher. I mean, he does more than that, but anywhere around the 18-yard box, he's so smart and he's very clinical as well. So we obviously know how much we've missed him throughout the season, but it just again highlighted once again. If you get your head up, wingers, Wilson more than likely is going to be there.
Yep, totally agree. It was great finish. It was an easy finish. And the fans just behind the Burnley goal there went into raptures, which is what you want to see. But yeah, I so hope Wilson tore Miggy a new one in the dressing room after that, because he deserved it. He really, really did. That could potentially have cost us the game. We don't know. But it was a great goal by Wilson, great bit of build-up play and lots of pace involved, which is just great for going for Toon up. Now, from then on, it seemed as though word into Turf Moor that Leeds were staying up at that point. And you could hear the crowd was starting to get back into it. The noise was lifting. For the first time in God knows how long, they were actually making more noise than our fans were, which is quite an achievement at Turf Moor, to be honest. And I think it was the 69th minute, about 10 minutes after we went 2-0 up, they actually pulled one back. And again, this goes a little bit of a lackadaisical defending with ASM. It's probably maybe 10, 12 yards on the left-hand side up from the corner flag. And he stands off him when he's lost the ball and just doesn't even bother trying to get it back or anything. The ball's crossed into Cornet. Cornet fires it at Dubravka. Dubravka saves it, but it's then rebounded back out to Cornet, who finishes on the volley from the rebound, makes it 2-1. Now, again, two-part question with this one. Should ASM have done better? And I'll probably give you a yes on that one. And should Dubravka have caught the ball, or was it just an instinct save, and he tried to put it where he could?
I think it was an instinct save. I think the issue for me was more the lack of tracking and the lackadaisical attitude from everybody really in the box. It was sort of slow motion. Cornet had two shots at the goals within 10, 12 yards out. So we did see him in that period, you're right, Craig, to sort of back off a little bit and sort of drift away mentally from the game. And I think that just epitomised that. Maxi doesn't block the cross. No one tracks the run. The rebound comes out. Cornet, even though he's the one who shoots, he's the first one to the rebound. He scores. So at that point, with 20 minutes to go, obviously Burnley were right back in it. Even though Leeds were still, I think at that point Leeds were still winning 1-0, but Burnley were right back in it. So it was a 20 minutes of Route 1 football, but yeah.
Yeah, it was. I think it was shortly after that ASM was subbed off for Chris Wood, who was greeted with a round of boos, which I didn't expect that, to be honest. I thought he might have got a decent reception from the Burnley fans, but he chose to leave. He chose to move on to what he claimed as bigger, better things. It was an opportunity he couldn't turn down. You can't really blame him for that. Didn't really do much when he came on. He probably helped defensively, clear a few balls, but there was no aerial threat from him. But then there wasn't really much from us going forward. And on the 79th minute, I think everybody thought this shot was in, to be honest. It was, again, across from our left-hand side. Not sure who gets across in, but Weghorst, he gets his toenails to it, but it just wasn't enough to push it past Dubravka. It was almost very reminiscent of Gaza against Germany in Euro 96. It was literally a gnat's pubes width away from going 2-2, and that would have made that relegation scrap with Leeds that all a bit more interesting. Thankfully, it just drifted out wide for a goal kick. Play resumed. And it got a little bit scrappy again towards the end. We had a chance with Bruno where he tried to channel his inner Joe Linton, where he slipped and just didn't make any contact with the ball. Not a miss me big friend. I'm going to do a big imitation of him. And Murphy tried to just walk it into the net. And by then, I think the game was over with. It was done. Word got around that Leeds had scored a second, and I think Burnley knew their fate had been sealed, and it just sucked the life out of them effectively, which you can't really blame them. They tried hard. They've done the best, but it just ultimately wasn't good enough all season. And again, thankfully, it was a game that it didn't really matter that much to us, apart from how high we were going to finish up in the table. Your thoughts on the overall game, and were we the deserved winners?
I think we were. I mean, we turned it on probably not turned it on is probably a bit much. I don't think we turned it on too much this morning, but we did what we had to do probably for a 25, 30-minute period where we were well and truly in control, scored two. If we're a bit more clinical going forward, we had a couple of counter-attacks, even at 2-0, I think, that we completely butchered. That it was either Miggy picked the wrong pass or Maxi picked the wrong pass. There was a couple of moments where we could have even extended the lead. So I think overall we deserved it. Burnley didn't really have any clue what to do except hump it up to Barnes and Weghurst or whatever that bloke's name is when he came on. So besides that chance, like you said, that just went wide, it was Route 1 football, and probably the only thing that my mate Jamal can do these days is deal with those physical contests. So he did well today, and I think that definitely we deserve the 3 points.
Just going to put this comment from Adam up here before the full-time stats. So, second game in a row, we controlled the ball for long periods. Hard to get used to after Brucey ball. That's a fair comment, really is. But again, the opposition was just Burnley. I know previously we played Arsenal, where you'd think we were the team going for the Champions League rather than Arsenal on that one. And that was an absolute sensational performance. This one was always going to be a scrappy affair, but I think Adam's right. Within that first half, at least, we did dominate the ball, and that first half pretty much belonged to us. Would you agree with that?
Yep, definitely. And I think it's the natural transition I think that Howe's trying to make. I don't think he wants to be a team who has 25-30% of the ball and just play purely on the counter attack. I think he's brought Bruno in because Bruno's a bloke who's going to get on the ball, is going to control the tempo of the game. He's going to be sort of the metronome in the middle of the park. And I think, like we saw last week against Arsenal and obviously bits and pieces today, I think we're trying to transition to a more progressive possession team. And I think with the signings that we'll make in the summer, I think you'll see a lot more focused around possession, and like we said, with Maxi valuing the ball, and that might lead to a further questions with Maxi whether he forms part of the plans if he doesn't value possession as the rest of the team do.
And one other quick question as well: how much did losing Big Joe on the 5th minute affect the game overall, do you think?
I think the tempo suffered in the first 15, 20 minutes. I mean, Burnley didn't exactly come out breathing fire. It was, like you said, they really didn't do much in the first 5-10 minutes anyway. But with that long delay with Joe coming off, I think it definitely halted any sort of rhythm or flow in the game. And I think actually today's game would have been perfect for Joe because he loves a scrap, and he is our new Patrick Vieira. He's just bull at a gate, just charging up and down the pitch. So I think today would have suited him perfectly with the way Burnley were cracking in. But definitely from Burnley's perspective, it definitely stopped any sort of rhythm or momentum they were trying to build at the start of the match.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Totally agree. So go on to the full-time stats here. So for those that are listening in, go through. So we just edged possession on 51 over 49%. At halftime, I think we had close at the 60, maybe just above 60. So obviously, Burnley trying as hard as they can to come back in the second half. They did creep a little bit more possession in there. Shots, 12-8 now in Burnley's favour. Shots on target, 6-5 in our favour. Corners, 8-2 in Burnley's favour. And fouls was 8-9 in Burnley's favour, having the least amount on there. And the balance, does that look about right to yourself, to me?
Yeah, I think the stats are probably a little bit weighted in the last 15 minutes when they were just hoofing balls forward, and we were happy enough to just sit back and absorb the pressure. I think Chris Wood was probably being more of a centre half than a centre forward today when he came on. He was probably only brought on just to deal with set pieces and long balls. So I think they do make a bit of sense, but I don't think even with Burnley having 12 shots and 5 on target, I don't think they really threatened Bradford's goal.
Yeah, all the shots were tame or straight at him. Nothing which you'd consider to be a world class or a top quality save. Nothing really put much under pressure. Now I was going to get into the league table. Now, obviously, this is the last game of the season finished with. So this is the final standings, and we finished 11th. How the flying fuck have we finished 11th, Dimi? Seriously, if you can sum that up in one sentence, how have we finished 11th?
No idea. I actually before we go why we finished 11th, I do want to say that I did predict, and Lee did talk me down from 14 points, but I did predict that we were going to have a cracking last 7 games, and I just want to say that from now on I'll be known as Nostra Dimi, not Dimi. So Nostra Dimi will be my name from going forward. But no, it's ridiculous the way we finished the season. I mean, to think that we're only 3 points off 8th, whether we started 0 from 13 or 1 win in 20, I think it was, or 1 win in a 19 before the Leeds game. It was it's staggering. It just shows really how close and, to be honest, how poor a lot of the teams are in the bottom of the Premier League. And with a bit of good coaching and a bit of investment, you jump 10 to 12 spots. So it's definitely promising for us going forward. And it's dizzy heights of 11th, Craig. Dizzy heights.
It's crazy. The thing that baffles me with that is lots of people have been praising West Ham this season for how good they've been. David Moyes, to be honest, has done an absolute cracking job there. Got them all the way to I don't know, was it the Europa League semi-final? But they finished 7th, 56 points. We're only 7 points behind them. And again, we only had 1 win in 20 games. That to me is outstanding. 7 points behind West Ham, and they qualified for Europe. That is genuinely astonishing for me, and I'm dumbfounded by it still. I still can't get from 1st of January up until now. I'm thinking it's all going to be a dream. We'll wake up and we'll be sat 19th and it's the final game of the season, something like that. I hope that doesn't happen, obviously, but it just feels like it, because it was one hell of a roller coaster, and it just kept on going up and up and up in terms of the wins, the games, the performances, and it was just an astonishing second half of the season, which, to be honest, I don't think it'll ever be repeated again. I really don't. Again, we broke records on that. It was absolutely sensational, and I don't know. I'm lost for words, as you can probably tell. But it was a genuinely amazing effort, and like Bobby says, King Eddie.
Well, from where we were, I mean, like you said, there's definitely no team ever, I think, in Premier League history is going to go 0 wins from 14 and 1 win from 20 to finishing 11th on 49 points with, what do we end up, 13 wins. I mean, it's absolutely staggering. I mean, we didn't know what a win was. We were thinking, where's the next win coming from, let alone 13 wins. So it's absolutely crazy. And full credit to Eddie, full credit to the staff, to the players, to everybody. It was a sensational second half of the season. Goodness, we got rid of that previous manager, and obviously the ownership change was a big deal as well. But it's look, you're like you said, Craig. I just don't know how to describe it anymore. We're used to winning every week now. We think we're going to win the game. You go to watch the games now. You're thinking we're going to win. Like, we've got this confidence now that thinking, why can't we win the games? Before we're thinking, we're going to lose 2-0 today, 3-0, 4-0. Now we're thinking, okay, we're going to win.
Yeah, it was like the Arsenal game. There was absolutely no way 1st of January you turn around and say we would put on a performance as good as that. We'd all be thinking, oh Christ, here we go. Another night under the lights at St James's Park. We're going to get hammered 5-0. It's just going to be a dreadful, dreadful game. But I think that game alone just captures the essence of the spirit of that squad. And I think that is our performance of the season, the one against Arsenal. I don't think anyone would really argue against that. And to me, that just is the start of what is special and what's happening at Tyneside. And I just can't wait for the future. It was absolutely brilliant. But getting on to Keegan's question there, should we be aiming for you for next season? And should it be through league position or by targeting one of the cup competitions?
I think realistically, I mean, you look at that table, we're 3 points off 8th. So I think top 8 can be definitely a realistic game. If we can finish 8th, 7th, have a good run in the cup, I think that'd be definitely an achievable target for us. And if we can finish higher than that, even better. But I think definitely the Conference League, I think is that what it's called, the Europa Conference League or the Europa League, one of those second tier European competitions, I think definitely is something that we can attack.
Yeah, just based off that second half performance, totally agree. And Andy just put there, shame the Irons let us down yesterday. 10th would have been deserved. 11th is brilliant, though. I would have taken 17th, Andy. I really would have. And I think every Newcastle fan up and down the country, across the world, would have said exactly the same thing. 11th is just genuinely amazing. We were in 10th at one point, but not to be. It would have been absolutely superb, like you say. And just getting a few other things here from Bobby. I can see a cup run next season and battling from 7th to 10th on the table. Would you take that?
Absolutely. I think it's not going to be a straight up to the top or challenging top four. I don't think in the next couple of seasons. I think if we can sit in that West Ham spot and say we're going to finish 7th, play in the Conference League, maybe make a run to a semi-final or hopefully a final, then I think that'll be a sensational season.
It would be absolutely superb. Just to get past the third round of the FA Cup, I'd be happy with, to be honest. I'd say that is success in a cup competition for us. I don't think anyone would disagree against that one. I can't remember the last time we actually got past it. It was a bit bonkers. The cup form that we had under Ashley was just atrocious. So going on from the league table onto the team photo. Now, the reason why I've got this on here is a few reasons. One, we won a game, so we always show the team photo. B, it is probably the last time this collective group of players will pull on a shirt in anger. So there's a lot of players maybe in that dressing room that will never make a match squad again, never be part of this match squad again, because a good few of them are going to be moved on. And it's just one of those moments where you think, and it's the end of an amazing season, two part of amazing season, and some of those just aren't good enough to carry us there. It was nice to see Matt Ritchie get a little cameo because I think he'll be one of the players saying bye-bye. It was a good little way to see him off. But the other thing I want to mention as well is, do you think they should continue doing this match-winning photo next season, or just let it end now because we've rode that crest of a wave and we'll start next season as a fresh?
I'd like to see it keep it going. I think it seems like it's a unique thing for Eddie and the club. We'll try to show a united front, Newcastle United. I don't see why we wouldn't continue it. I think it's great vibes. You can see that the players love it. The camaraderie has always been, to be honest, even under Bruce, the camaraderie was always pretty good in the dressing room. They seem to care about each other. They seem to love each other. So I think the more we see it next year, probably the better we're going to go. So why not keep it going? I think it's definitely keep the good vibes going.
Yeah, to be honest, I agree with that. I've just seen a few people mention it on their social media that it should be just put in the bin now. So move on. Next season, we'll be a totally different team. We'll be a totally different outfit. And we should just aim for the top. Just keep pushing and pushing. And things like this, if they start happening every week, team photos or every other week or so, people are just going to be thinking, oh, yeah, we'll go again. They're actually showing off because they're winning all these games now. Bring it on. As far as I'm concerned, if we get a team photo every week, that means we're moving in the right direction, which is great for me.
Yep.
I'm more than happy with that. And Bobby just got there. Miggy needs a tan. Let's bring that image back up. You really look at his legs compared to the top half of his body.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Where's his top? No tops off. No tops off in the Tyneside, obviously.
Genuinely, I mean, where did he play in the States? I mean, surely he's gone on holiday at some
Atlanta.
point. He's got some money, the lad.
Atlanta. Yeah, he played in Atlanta. It's not like it's cold. Pardon?
Yeah. It's cold in Atlanta, isn't it?
It can be, but it's not as if it's freezing. I'm sure in the middle of summer it's not going to be like Tyneside. So yeah, very strange. Maybe he's just very protective of his skin.
Jack's just put there. Miggy looks like me when I arrived in Queensland. Yeah, he's a bit pale. Looks like he's been bathing in Daz Ultra by the looks of it. For you to know what that is, soap powder over here. And Lee, Serena needs a rest too. Yeah. Serena, good friend of the pod. Let's give her a rest. Don't let Trippier take the photos, because the one that he took on the website was shit. It was so out of focus, it was unreal. But nah, it was. I love the idea of the team photo. I do think it should continue. It's just whether a case of people start hounding them on their social media for almost bragging now. But we've had nothing to brag about for the last 14 years, so let it continue. Let it continue. Exactly, yes. So take off there. Now, if you haven't voted already, check in the poll that's in the top of the comments page. It's just on Miggy on whether you think he should be here next season. We've got a few votes on all already, and I'll announce the total just before we end here tonight. I'm just going to go through some of the comments just before we wrap up. We're going to keep it nice and short, this one. And just got a comment here from Adam. So, looking forward to next year. Proper batter in a team. It's been a while since we scored 5 in a game. Spurs in 2016 when we were already down. Wilson back fit shows golfing class between him and Wood. I think that's blatantly obvious, isn't it?
It's actually, look, I don't want to slag off Wood because he did a job. He was fantastic when he played. He was that focal point that we needed when we were rising up the table. But the quality of Wilson in the box, I mean, he's different level. He's different class. He's a Premier League striker. He is a quality Premier League striker, and with service in a better team, he will score loads of goals. The only knock on him, and it's always been the only knock on him, he can't stay fit. If he could stay fit, I'm sure he probably wouldn't have been at Bournemouth for that long. He probably would have been playing in a top 6 team because he's a guarantee of goals. And if we can keep him fit next season, great. I think we're going to need more than Wilson to progress. Maybe someone same or if not better quality than him. I think we can get 2 players of his quality rotating in and out or going through depending on fitness. I think that's going to be ideal for us.
Yeah, totally agree. Wood, he done his job. I don't think he's going to be first or second choice striker next season. And I think he probably already accepted that. He may have known that when he signed his contract effectively. But he's done his job. All respect to the lad. Just hasn't really worked out for him the way we all wanted it to for him. But yeah, he's still a welcome man on Tyneside for that one. And just going on to what Dex mentioned earlier on about Longstaff. And I know a few of us in the chat have mentioned it as well. He's either putting himself in the shop window for a great move because his performances have been better than average as of late. The game against Arsenal, he was very good. He was very good today. He was probably maybe even our best midfielder today. He probably a little step above Bruno, which is very hard to say on that one. But just like Dex has got here, Longstaff looked decent. Do you think he's putting himself in the shop window, or do you think he's got an eye on that signature and waiting for the ink to dry?
I think it's the latter, to be honest. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how high he wants to go. I don't think, just by complete body of work, I don't think he's going to be a weekend starter for us. But even in any top 10, 12, 15 Premier League side, I'm not sure he has the quality to do that. He has shown now. He's come in the last 2 games. He's been fantastic. Bear in mind, he did play, obviously, next to Bruno and Joe Linton the last 2 games. Obviously, not today. Joe went off early, but playing next to someone with the quality of Bruno, I'm sure that does help and it does take the pressure off. So I think he wasn't putting himself in the shop window. I think he is thriving playing next to better players and hopefully, look, if he can keep that form up for us, even as a rotation option or as somebody to come off the bench and play when players are suspended or unfit, I think that's good value for us.
Quick question on this one. If both are fit, Willock or Longstaff, who are you picking?
Willock.
Me too. Yeah,
Willock,
definitely.
Yeah. Willock scores goals, which is obviously very important, come from midfield. Willock carries the ball, drives with the ball better than Longstaff does, and I still get a little bit nervous when you do put the pressure on Sean. He can give it away in some terrible areas. So I think if push came to shove and we had to choose between one of those players in our squad, I think it's definitely Willock.
Yeah, Dex agrees with that too. Let us know in the comments if you think Longstaff over Willock, or again you think Willock over Longstaff. Be nice to get everyone's opinion on that one. And just before we do wrap up on this one, who's your man of the match of this one, Dimi? I think it's going to be quite easy, to be honest, but I'll let you have a go of that one.
Man of the match. Well, quite easy. You tell me who you've got because I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that simple. Who do you have?
Wilson purely for his goals.
Yeah. It. Besides Wilson with the goals, I thought Byrne had a great game at the back as well. I thought he was winning every header. I thought he looked strong. Like Dex said, I thought Longstaff was very good this morning. So any one of those three, but obviously, yeah, when you're scoring 2 goals, it's got to be Wilson.
So that concludes the Burnley review. That was our last game of the 2021 season. Newcastle United have finished in astonishing 11th place in the Premier League. We have had the takeover this season. Ashley is gone. Bruce is gone. Eddie Howe's Mighty Mags are on the rise. And question from Bobby, when will we announce our first signing? A few teams have started today.
I think before the end of the month. I think some of the players that potentially are available on a free, they might announce those ones. Like I saw this morning that Aston Villa announced. Oh, I saw this morning Aston Villa announced their first signing. So anyone on a free transfer, I think, could be the one to announce. Like you said, Tarkovsky could be one coming through the door. I think he might be the first one.
Yeah, on the free transfer, that would make sense. Not overly a fan of Tarkowski in the second half of the season. First half of the season is okay, but he just seemed to drift away. But his stats actually look quite decent from what I've seen in comparison. So maybe I'm a little bit wrong on that one. And would you? I know I mentioned this to you yesterday in the group chat. You'd have Tarkowski over Lascelles?
Yep, definitely. I'm not just personal against Lascelles. I do think Tarkovsky is a better player, and I do think Tarkovsky is better on the ball, and I think that's going to suit the way we want to play going forward.
So, would you keep Lascelles as a squad player or move him on?
If we got a good offer for him, I would sell him. To be honest, I think he's done a job here. He's been captain great, but I think we've got bigger fish to fry than Jamal.
Because bear in mind the likes of Kieran Clark and Fernandez, they're likely to be out the door as well. So we probably don't want too much of a clear out at the back. Personally, I would keep him on as a squad player, like what he's been now, to be honest. Take the captaincy off him and give it a Trippier or even Joe Linton, to be honest. I think Joe Linton is captain material on that one. We discussed that in the last game against Arsenal. He was very influential in that game on that one. Just going to a few more comments in before we do wrap it up. So what we got here from Andy. Only fifth the club make a quick decision on Target. He doesn't deserve to be messed about. I'd agree with that. I have Target next season. I think he doesn't need any settling in the squad. He'll blend straight in and he'll hit the ground running. You reckon?
Absolutely. At the price we're going to get him as well, probably between 15 and 20 million pounds. I think he's a proven Premier League left back, and he's been great for us. So absolutely.
Yeah, 100% agree. Yeah, he hasn't really put a foot wrong. There's maybe only the Spurs game or the Man City game, but everyone gets torn to pieces off Man City, so that's not really a big one on that one there. Just going to go to the poll that we mentioned earlier on about whether you would keep Miggy for next season. And looking at it there, 75% of all votes say no. Who's voting yes? I mean, I like Miggy. I think his work rate is absolutely fantastic, but his end product is left to be desired, and he's not good enough to carry this team forward. And I think he knows that himself. I think he knows his time's up on Tyneside. And I think he will be gone. But 75% said they wouldn't want to keep him here next season. That is quite some margin. I didn't think it'd be that high. There would be maybe 2/3 difference, but each of their own on that one. And we've got any more questions in the chat just before we do wrap it up? We're just approaching the hour mark. Let's just have a little look on that one. Oh yeah, Dex says we forgot Lee Charnley. Penfold himself. He got a massive payoff, didn't he, when he got let go on that one? And also they kept him on for a few weeks for the transitional period, I believe it was. So he was still getting paid, which is absolutely bonkers. Oh, there we go. From Dex. Paqueta. Now, this is an interesting one, and I don't want to drag on this for too long, but obviously he was on Tyneside visiting Bruno, which he's done before on a few occasions already. We all know he loves St. James's, he loves the atmosphere, and Bruno's already recommended him to Eddie. And there was a photo with him, albeit very low quality, probably highly zoomed in, of Bruno and Paqueta wearing the Toon shirt in what I think was Bruno's back garden. In the again, there's talk on social media. The reason why Paqueta wasn't part of the starting 11 for Leon's last game was because of that. It was the first time this season Paqueta has never made it off the bench or made the starting 11. It's all a bit suspicious. Do you think there's any truth or anything in that transfer at all, Dimi?
I'm not sure. I would definitely take him. I think he'd be a fantastic signing. He's a proper number 10. I think he'd be perfect for what we need to play in front of Bruno. But I'm not too sure that Paqueta would be on the top of our list in terms of targets. But hopefully I'm proven wrong. Hopefully Bruno gets his way and his best mate can come along and they can enjoy the Northeast.
That would be absolutely sensational. It just, to me, it stinks a bit of Kabai and forgot his best mate played right back for us. What was his name?
Debussy,
yeah. So Dubai, he tries to get Debussy. He did feel like this. They tried to get him the window before, they wouldn't sell him, but then we done a deal. Then 6 months later, Kabai pisses off to PSG, leaves his best friend on Tyneside. Not going to say Bruno does the same, but it just seems a bit weird with people recommending their best friends coming to football clubs and everything, albeit if they are high quality players and they do improve the squad. I just think it's a little bit strange. And this is probably where we're going to end it right here, because this is where we could actually see the Toon Under pod on tour. How about this one? Hearing rumours that the Toon might be considering Australia as an alternative for pre-season. Mind, I think it's my lad that's starting them, Derby against the Jets. Now, imagine the Toon did come on tour to Australia. That would genuinely be phenomenal. It would literally, we would all be there following them around, and we'd all have a Toon shirts on, saying every game pre-season. If anyone doesn't know, Australia is an absolutely massive country. It is absolutely huge, and it would take quite a bit of distance to get traveling to and from the games. But we would all do it. We all miss going to the games, albeit be friendly. But the Toon Under podcast on tour, following the Toon, would just be sensational. I'd love it. Would you, Dimi?
Absolutely. I think we'd definitely all be there. And like Andy said in the comments, there's a team in the A-League called the Newcastle Jets. Jets versus Newcastle United game would go well.
Newcastle versus Newcastle. that'd be something, that one. So that's probably where we're going to end it there. We've just been pretty much coming up to the hour mark, and just want to give a bit of a shout out to our next pod. So that is going to come later on this week, and it is a special interview with Matthew Raisbeck, who is the BBC Radio Newcastle match day commentator, and you may see, or you may hear his voice when you listen to the match on the radio, or if you watch the replays on YouTube. That's his voice alongside John Anderson. So that's going to be a very special guest, very great interview. That'll be happening sometime this week. So keep an eye on that. And if you haven't already, please subscribe, please comment, please give that thumbs up. Follow us on the social medias. So we're on Twitter, we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram. And also, if you do like the audio version of this podcast, we are available on Spotify, Apple Music, and also Amazon Music too. So we're on pretty much everywhere on there. Just before we do wrap this up, one quick sentence, Dimi. Sum up the season for me.
Shit to great.
Shit to great. That's what we're literally going to. I'm going to get that tattooed across my shoulders. Shit to great. That is that's philosophical. That is, mate. That really is. That's the type of thing I'm going to have on my gravestone as well. That is absolutely brilliant. But everyone that's watched it, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure interacting with you in the comments as usual. Thanks for Dimi for coming along. And next season can't come quick enough if it's going to be anywhere as good as the second half of this one. Keep an eye out for everything we're going to be doing the pre-season. We'll be having transfer window specials. We've got more interviews coming up, and we've got a whole heap of things coming your way. Again, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to leave it with there. You got any final words there, Dimi?
Not really. Just can't wait for next season, and hopefully it's just as good, like you said, just as good as the end of this season. It's we're starting to get used to winning, which is a bit scary, but hopefully we can do a lot more of that next season.
Absolutely. And fingers crossed it's an absolute blind and we get some awesome players in. But we'll leave it with there. So I'll say good night, Dimi, and I'll say good afternoon or good morning, wherever else you're watching the world. Have a good one. See you later.